And we're back. It's Tuesday, July 22nd. Twitter Mike's here. What's up, Twitter?
I'm good. Was expecting a little bit more excitement overnight. Nothing's moving, but we have great weather in Chicago, so good start.
What does Twitter Mike do with great weather in Chicago? Because you've gotten this moniker, which is now kind of dated. We tested out X Mike, didn't work. Sound like a superhero. What does Twitter Mike do in the good weather?
A little bit of kayaking. We're outside. This weekend I went bowling for the first time in a couple of years, which was nice.
Nice.
My mom and my sisters beat me a couple of games, which was sad, but it was a good time.
Wait, why is it sad that
I used to be pretty good.
Oh,
like
okay.
I was like upper 150s a lot of the time. Like
Wow.
I wasn't anything special, but I was guttering a lot of them. It was making me real mad at first, but we warmed up and we got better towards the end. But it was a good time.
It's you can only get your 10,000 hours in so many things.
Yeah.
Bowling is one that maybe I guess you missed, but you're definitely getting your 10,000 hours on Twitter and monitoring stocks that don't really matter. And yeah, it should be said that tastyfx doesn't offer stocks or anything like that. But what have you been seeing around the market? You've always got some hot takes.
Sure.
Did you look at Open Door yesterday?
we did see that. I don't know if I have words to describe it that are appropriate, but it's maybe mania is a good word to describe it right now.
You're bearish Open though.
I mean, I can't give an opinion on the direction itself, but what you do see is just insane interest on things that didn't really have interest and that didn't really have a thesis behind it. It's just things are running hot. Which is always an interesting sign of the times. People always say the signs are right in front of you, but they don't call them out when they're right in front of you. So maybe this is one, maybe it isn't. But I'm struggling to find the rationale behind the trade itself or anything like that. Again, not an opinion, but it's just usually there's some reason that people are doing something, but I didn't see a reason at all, so that's what I found interesting.
We can say explicitly for TJ and anybody out there that this is not an opinion of the direction of Open whatsoever, but for the concept of like, is this a meme stock? Is Open a meme stock?
Probably you would say, right? Because I didn't see any major news. There wasn't any change in the company
no
or
clue.
anything like that, right?
Just saw that it went from less than $1 to $5 to $3.
Yeah, and it got halted. I saw it yesterday as well. So just an interesting sign of the times, I think, is a great way to describe that one.
So you're not long meme stocks.
I don't think I could say if I was or not. But
conceptually, you aren't like. It doesn't sound like you're.
I think it depends. I'll click a buy and sell button really on a lot of things, right? It just really depends on a lot of things. And my opinion changes quite a few just depending on so many different things going on, right? But stuff like that is really hard for me to take an opinion or a direction on, just because I'm a logical thinker, and it's hard to find logic in something like that. Again, not an opinion, but maybe I missed the headline or something like that.
It seems like a different world. Like when you deep dive into like the meme stock part of the social media or internet or whatever, or the what's a better way without saying the S word on the show? Coins, I guess meme coins as well. Let's just say that. But there's a different four-letter word that begins with S for the coins that people trade around. But when you get into that, when you find yourself in that part of the internet, a friend of mine over the weekend was showing me like, oh, here's this guy. He's like a crypto guy. He's got, like hundreds of thousands of followers. And like, I don't understand what the heck he's talking about. But like, it was interesting because he was like, I know this guy. When me and my friend went to school together at Michigan, graduated. He, much smarter, immediately started trading options at Morgan Stanley, worked with this guy. This guy left to start doing crypto trading stuff. And so he's like, whenever I see this stuff, I'm like, this is maybe all fake. It looks like it's all fake for sure. But he's like, oh yeah, this is a real guy, and like I believe what he's saying is like what he's doing, and it's like I flipped Pepe for for $5 million, and it's like I have no clue what the heck that even means. What you're looking at to know that like Pepe is going to take off today or whatever. But it's a similar thing with this like open door where it's like there is obviously a part of the retail trading sector that is growing, and they're doing this stuff that I just don't understand. But it is a sign of the times, and we probably should try to understand it because
it reminds me of like the NFT era a couple of years ago during 2020. Because I don't, like you say, you don't understand, but I don't think anyone understands either. I think it's just a lot of, I got not an opinion, but it's we're seeing speculation across like all asset classes right now, which is interesting. And again, open is a clear sign of speculation across everything going on.
Nothing fundamentally has changed. It was the same with AMC, GameStop. It's like they didn't just like invent a couple 100,000 movie theaters that just started doing, you know, millions in revenue each, like overnight. It didn't just happen. But there is obviously something that I feel like the guy in like probably like 2007, 2008, where it's like Facebook's being valued at what? Like, and people are just playing Farmville on the internet, like, but it's worth this much money. And then it's like, oh, they're gonna layer ads. They're gonna create a lot of revenue off of this network. And yeah, it seems like there's, whether it's Solana or NASDAQ and some of these stocks or whatever, there's some kind of network effect that I don't know if it's being monetized or what the heck is going on there. But people are trading it around.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a lot different than a company like Meta, because that was like doing something for the world, right? Like it was offering a service. Where's the service?
But I don't think you can have that mindset, because if it was back in 2000, like I say, like mid 2000s, what was the service? It was like, oh, a bunch of college kids are connected and they play online games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think you can have that hindsight view, because like you referenced earlier,
I was an early YouTube like user, like that. Like I grew up, because now we're seeing like YouTube is one of the most watched things, even more than television, right? That was my entire life, like growing up. Like I've always been on YouTube, and it's probably due to my age being 25. But now I'm seeing the older people like you cross over and pull up some YouTube more often than not, which is funny. It's
I don't
really
watch YouTube, by the way. I am older than Mike, but I will never give in to any of these young newfangled technologies.
It's just like television, where you got to be careful where you look, right? There's a lot of slop out there, but there's also a lot of
people are watching podcasts now. I don't get
I'm
that.
not a podcast guy either. I look at like, because you can get like Druckenmiller interviews on there. There's a lot of old Buffett and Munger talks on there.
You're just crushing those tapes.
Yeah, no, I try to find. There's free Harvard lectures on there on like the most complex stuff where I pull out and I don't even understand what they're saying. So
you let
a lot of information out there, but it just really depends where you let. It's again like being on Twitter, for example. Like your brain can either turn to slop. Or
we're not going to start calling you YouTube Mike though. No. Twitter Mike is still amazing. It was the best. But all right, Twitter. Let's get into the platform. Sure. Take a look at what the heck's going on. Not much. We had some pretty interesting action yesterday, and I'm looking at you, Eurodollar. Here on the hourly chart, nice big rally here in the morning. And then I know this doesn't look like much, but they rallied this market up to, like 117, close to 117.20, 117.15, 117.16 area, and then brought it back off, 20, 30 points. Now trying to rally it again here going into the U.S. session. That was the biggest mover for me outside of the dollar yen, which again, they're trying to take down this dollar going into the U.S. session. So a little bit of the similar what we saw yesterday, which was dollar selling going into the U.S. session, a little bit more throughout that U.S. session, and then a little bit of a dollar bounce. We'll see if we get that bounce here today. We have Powell coming up. We'll talk about that in a second. But is this the the biggest pair that you're looking at here this week, this dollar yen, given the volatility, given the election stuff that happened over the weekend in Japan?
Yeah, I think this one has a lot of interest behind it. One, because of what happened last year in August when we saw a lot of like that tech unwind with the carry trade blow up. So does that happen again this year? Who knows? I think it's interesting. They have a bunch of bond issuances coming up as well, so that could be interesting on top of it. We're at an interesting spot in the chart, right? It's almost hit 150 again. Now we're back. Are we going back to 140 or the lower 140s to the bottom end of that range, or are we just gonna maybe make a new breakout to 150 at this point? As you see, from May to July, it was straight chop up and down, right? But this one, on the downturn, do we find some support in the upper 140s finally, or do we get a nice breakdown? Which would be interesting. Maybe is Paolo going to say something really interesting today when he speaks? Like, please don't fire me. Forex markets go crazy. I don't know. It should be interesting. I think they are in their blackout period right now as well. So
Okay.
I'm not too sure how much he'll say or it'll be interesting or not. I always listen, I think, whenever one of the most powerful people world that sets interest banks for the largest economy, and his words carry weight, so it should be interesting no matter what. But
looking at this dollar yen and around that event, I agree with you. We're in a little bit, it feels like are we going to take it down to 140 or is it going to rally on to 150? But I do have to say, given the price action here in July, it feels more like the question to me is like, is it going to bounce right here off of 147? And if it does, then it's like, okay, how high are we going to go? Because every step of the way here, it's been like a rally up to 145 here in early July. And then when we're down here, every single time it feels like, okay, like, is it 140 or 145? Which is next? But it catches itself here at essentially kind of like a higher low or whatever you want to call it, and then rallies onto 146 and even gets onto 147, and then it comes off again. And when we're down here again, it feels like, like, okay, are we going down to 140 or are we hanging around 145? We've kind of really gotten away from that 140 to 145 range. And for me, the question really becomes, are we going to catch ourselves here? Because if we don't, then I would agree with you. Then we're kind of like, all right, how much are we going to backtrack? But if we do catch ourselves here, it just feels like the dollar is, all things considered, still on a relatively bullish run in July. And especially in this dollar yen market, if it catches here, it feels like we could toy with that 150 number that we haven't toyed with in... ding dong, going back to March before, all of the dollar selling that we saw in April. So we'll definitely watch that one because unfortunately these European currencies, the euro, Swiss franc, and I don't know if the UK likes to be slotted in with Europe there, but those currencies are not really in the same mode. Like we're not anywhere near dollar highs against the euro or against the pound or against the Swiss franc, especially for the last several months. So I'll probably be watching that dollar yen. Anything else that you'll be watching going into this this Fed Chair Powell speech?
I think maybe euro and Aussie will be interesting too. We saw a decent move in gold itself yesterday. Was up like over 1%, but Aussie didn't really move too much with it to the upside when I was watching. Maybe we see some continuation. Again, people are short dollar right across the board, across every asset class right now, which is pretty interesting. Does that affect like USD JPY and these other currency pairs when stuff is moving around? I don't know. I think it's interesting though, and I think maybe there's an opportunity somewhere, whether that's long or short these markets. But you can see it in the chart itself. There's a lot of chop this month for Aussie. to the downside, and now it's sitting at that lower end of the range. So maybe depending on how Powell's speech goes, I know we have some Red Book data, which is kind of like some sales growth data for same stores. That should be pretty interesting. Does that move Aussie a whole ton? Not really sure. That probably won't affect that market too much, right? Because it's a low thing.
Well, you do
quality data release,
raise a
but,
good point. Right in here is that gold rally.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, gold rallied from pretty much the start of the European session yesterday, all throughout the U.S. session. But here's where gold really was starting to put in its highs, and Aussie, you can see like it wants to rally, but just not there. That correlation between gold and Aussie just has not really been there. And obviously, you look at gold prices. This is an hourly chart, so when you go out in time, you look at gold prices around all-time highs, depending on the month, kind of ripping through all-time highs, and Aussie just sad chart here. And even like I say, in July, this Aussie giving up ground to the U.S. dollar, as the U.S. dollar has had a little bit of a bounce in July. Greatest bounce really against that yen, least amount of bounce against this Swiss franc, which again we're trading. Gosh, now we're trading 79.70, whereas last week it looked like okay, we're back above 80, and we're gonna get back into this range that we've been in. But maybe the new range is 79 to 80 or 78 and change to 80 and change, whatever it is. I know this isn't probably your favorite pair just because it's not the most volatile. Or
I think it's interesting though because
okay.
it's at extremes, and plus it's historically considered like a flight of safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're seeing that in the chart when you compare it to the price of gold itself. When you compare it to these other currencies, right? It's far more stretched to the downside than it is Aussie, for example. So that's what's really interesting to me is the extreme move of, I don't know whether that's sentiment, whether it's policy rates, because they're real rates. I want to say they're negative for the most part. But I want to say that's really, really interesting to me. Whenever things are at extremes or right in the middle of like their mean, that's when I get kind of interested in things. And this continues just to make extreme after extreme after extreme to the downside. So.
Yeah, super interesting to see a little bit of this. Yeah, maybe this is the piece that's correlated with gold more than Australian dollar right now. Obviously, not blinking at all at the interest rate.
Well, the thing is, gold's been stuck for a couple months now, right? But
sure.
This thing, you can see it hasn't been stuck. It just keeps going. It just keeps going down, right? That's
so this is
really
the better gold.
To me. Yeah, well, because we saw the 10-year and everything else rip once kind of tariffs came to fruition, but this thing didn't mind the tariffs. Whether that has to do with people's thoughts on the interest rate parity with the pairs itself, or if it's whether that was gold was so overextended, people were looking to move stuff around. But that is a difference between gold and Chef, is just the extremes that have been. I mean, does gold continue to go up? I don't know. But this thing, you just see continued strength when you look at that chart. It's very smooth downtrend. So whether we find a bottom here or not, I don't know. But
it definitely, out of like the major currencies that we pair up against each other, this one is looking more and more like an emerging market currency than any. Obviously, it doesn't look like USD try, but sure. Like it. You smooth out a couple parts and it kind of looks like it. Yeah. It's just like a march in one direction consistently.
Well, I mean, our yields are trading at the same as the emerging markets for the most part, so it doesn't surprise me that.
Wow, you heard it here first from Twitter. Is the U.S. an emerging market again?
I think that'll be the first time in history the largest economy is an emerging market.
All right, well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the only other thing that I'll hit on really quickly is the calendar. Mm-hmm. We have Twitter's guy Powell, and then we have my lady Lagarde, in a few hours. Anything spicy on the upcoming Lagarde speech?
Not in regards to Lagarde, but all the other Fed speakers I've noticed have been kind of, I don't know. Some of them are like on Powell's side, some of them aren't on Powell's side. Let's cut now. That's kind of interesting to me. It's really, I try to have a lot of respect for the Federal Reserve because it's like the one piece of an institution that doesn't give an opinion that's insane in this day and age. And I really don't want to lose that because that's a nice sense of like, hey, these guys actually have a head on their shoulders, and they don't try to hate and destroy everyone. So that's, I don't know, that's, I don't
When
wanna
you say
lose
hate
that.
and destroy, who are you talking about?
I don't know, it's just kind of both of the extremes. But,
The whole political system.
exactly,
Gotcha.
yeah. I don't know, I just think stop complaining and fighting everything and just try to make things better because there's already so many bad things going on, right? That you're just wasting time arguing.
Wow. Good for you, Twitter Mike.
Yeah, not a political person at all. I just like ones and zeros, and they make it harder to understand and see where the ones and zeros are going. I'm sure the Federal Reserve says the same thing, right? When you're put irrationality and like fiscal policy itself, how are they going to do their job if the other person can't do it? It just, same with if the Fed was acting out, right, and not doing their job or going crazy, whether that you have that opinion right now that they're not doing their job, then that would make the fiscal side of things hard too. So everyone affects everything else. We should pay a little bit more attention to respect to each other because it's just making everyone's life harder.
You rock,
a little bit
dude.
more stressful.
Good for you.
So.
Good for you. I agree. It's good to have checks and balances. It's also kind of nice in this market to have, two sides of the coin here, because throughout April, it felt a lot like, oh man, like we're just anything goes. Like a lot of crazy stuff's flying around, and we've settled into a little bit of a better mode. Nasdaq's back at all-time highs. Thank
I think
God.
that's why, though, right? One of my favorite sayings is there's nothing like price to change sentiment.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So we've chilled out because of the price action.
I think so. I don't know.
But it is nice to have Powell has been very, whatever you want to say about the rate of change for cutting rates, he has been very stoic, I guess, in his position.
Well, as a 25-year-old, you don't have a lot of people in this day and age where you look up and you're like, this guy like sets a good path forward and an example for like a younger person, right? But I think he carries respect. He speaks with respect. Whether you think he makes the right decision or not doesn't really matter in that sense, right? Just the way he carries himself is kind of one of my favorite things about him.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Because you can tell he disagrees with stuff going on, not exactly in the words he uses, but the demeanor, but he still carries that respect for everyone.
Well, you also have Musk.
Yeah, he doesn't really carry that respect for everyone. He speaks
Musk
his mind with no.
He's not your guy.
I think he's.
You got
interesting.
Buffett. You got Buffett.
Does a
He's
lot of
pretty.
stuff.
He's pretty.
Yeah, and he's getting old though, so you gotta keep finding new ones.
By the way, that's the second, for anyone out there counting, that's the second ageist remark out of young Twitter Mike here today.
Most of my opinions you could probably say are older people, like they lean towards the older crowd.
Don't try to. You aren't us. Don't try to be us. You're appropriating older culture now.
Another Gen Z, I'll probably disagree more than I disagree with you. So.
All right. Well, that'll probably take care of it. Everybody, look out for Fed Chair Powell speaking in 30 minutes. Everything relatively unchanged. A couple of slight reversals from yesterday's action, but yesterday's action was pretty wild. We'll continue to watch that dollar-yen. Dollar is slipping a little bit here going into the U.S. session. But again, it'll be interesting to get Fed Chair Powell's speech even before U.S. equities wake up. So look out for that. And then Christine Lagarde talking at noon Central Time here today. And then your guy, Bank of Japan, Uchida, I don't even know what they call. A tough thing for me is, one, the central banks call the central banks different things. Yeah. Like we're the Federal Reserve. In Australia, they're like the Reserve Bank of Australia. everywhere else it's like, oh, there's a royal bank or there's this thing or that. I don't know. Is he a Bank of Japan governor? I don't know what he is technically. Yeah, it's not going to tell me.
I want to say he's a governor. But yeah, you're exact. Like, it's the Royal Bank of Australia. They all have their special lingo.
But anyways, a lot of Fed speeches here today. Watch out for that. And watch out for Tom, Tony, and Vanetta coming up next. Twitter, thanks for joining me. Peace.
Forbes called us best online for options trading. Investopedia, best for options trading, period. With stockbrokers.com, we're number one for options and futures trading. The Motley Fool really likes us. And so does Business Insider. So what else can we say other than boom? Trade like a trader. Tasty Trade. Make your move.
Global markets never sleep. Explore them with Forex, now available on Tasty Trade. Get in on over 80 Forex pairs, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, with the Forex platform that adapts to your style and speed.